The night before they were set to leave the isle, Giselle and Redbeard sat by the fire, the only light in the dark night. They were quiet, lost in their own thoughts as they watched the flames dance and flicker. Giselle was lost in memories of the battle and the loss of Sister Sigrid, while Redbeard was lost in the mystery of the Dark Mage and the Tower of Exiled Dark Mages. As they sat there, the only sound was the crackling of the fire and the occasional rustle of the wind in the trees. It was a peaceful moment, a moment of reflection before they set out on their next adventure. As the night wore on and the fire burned low, Redbeard and Giselle sat by themselves, lost in thought. Finally, Redbeard broke the silence. "Giselle, I've been wondering," he began tentatively. "Do the sisters take a vow of chastity?" Giselle chuckled and shook her head. "No, Redbeard. We do not. The reaping of the souls of the unworthy cannot be controlled. Many men have been found unworthy in the eyes of the goddess." Redbeard raised an eyebrow. "So you're telling me that you and the other sisters are free to enjoy the company of men?" Giselle's smile turned coy. "I can't speak for the other sisters, but I can tell you that I do enjoy the company of men. Especially strong, brave men like you, Redbeard." Redbeard felt his heart skip a beat at Giselle's words. Could it be that he was worthy in her eyes? He couldn't help but wonder. Redbeard raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Is that so?" Giselle leaned in closer, a sly smile on her lips. "Perhaps you are worthy, Captain. Perhaps you have what it takes to survive the reaping." Redbeard chuckled, but Giselle's smile faded and she became serious. "But be warned, Captain. Many men have had their souls reaped during the act of lovemaking. It is a dangerous game to play with the goddess." Redbeard nodded gravely, understanding the warning. But he couldn't help but continue to court Giselle. "I understand the risk, but I believe I am worthy. I promise to do my best to prove myself to you and the sisters." Giselle smiled and placed her hand on Redbeard's. "I hope so. But be careful, Redbeard. The stakes are high, and I don't want to see you lose your soul just yet." Redbeard squeezed her hand in return. "I won't let that happen. I'll do everything in my power to prove myself to you and the sisters." The two of them sat in silence for a moment, gazing into the flickering flames of the fire. Eventually, Giselle spoke up. "I hope you do. I think you could be a great addition to our crew. But for now, let's just enjoy each other's company and worry about the future later." Redbeard nodded and leaned in to kiss Giselle, determined to do whatever it took to win her and her goddess over. As the fire crackled in the background, Redbeard and Giselle sat close together, basking in the warmth of their newfound affection. They had both been through so much in their lives, and the moments they shared now felt all the more precious because of it. Redbeard wrapped his arm around Giselle, pulling her closer, and she rested her head against his chest with a contented sigh. "I never thought I'd find love again," Giselle said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Me neither," Redbeard replied, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "But I'm glad we found each other." They sat in silence for a while longer, enjoying the peaceful moment together. Eventually, Redbeard stood up and offered Giselle his hand. "Come on," he said. "We should get some rest before we leave the island in the morning." Giselle nodded and took his hand, allowing him to lead her back to his tent. As they lay down together, wrapped in each other's arms, they knew that they had found something special in each other, something that would sustain them through whatever challenges lay ahead. As Redbeard and Giselle lay entwined in each other's arms, they were lost in the intensity of their lovemaking. With every touch, every kiss, they were transported to new heights of pleasure. As they moved together, they were swept up in a whirlwind of sensations and emotions. Redbeard felt as though he was experiencing both heaven and hell at the same time, his body on fire with desire and his soul consumed by love. Giselle was equally lost in the moment, her body and soul completely surrendering to the intensity of their passion. As they moved together, she was filled with visions of the beyond, the land of the dead and the goddess of death herself. Despite the intensity of the moment, they were both completely at peace, their love for each other transcending all boundaries and all fear. They knew that in each other's arms, they had found a love that was both eternal and unbreakable. As Redbeard and Giselle lay tangled in each other's embrace, their lovemaking reached a fever pitch. Redbeard felt himself falling into a trance, his mind filled with visions of the beyond. He saw the land of the dead, and the goddess of death looming over him. But instead of feeling fear, he felt an intense pleasure that he had never experienced before. He could feel the goddess coming closer and closer, her icy touch sending shivers down his spine. He knew that he was reaching the peak of his ecstasy, and he let out a primal cry as he surrendered himself fully to the goddess. "Redbeard, my love," Giselle said softly as she held him close, "come back to me. You are not ready to join the goddess in the beyond, not yet." Redbeard's eyes fluttered open, and he looked at Giselle with a mixture of confusion and desire. "What happened?" he asked. "You were lost in the vision, my love," Giselle replied, brushing him with a gentle kiss. "But do not fear, the goddess has not yet claimed you. You still have much to live for." Redbeard nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude and love. "Thank you, my love," he said softly. "I will always be yours." "And I will always be yours," Giselle replied, drawing him in for another kiss. As they lost themselves in each other's embrace, they knew that they had had a slice of heaven and a taste of hell in each other's arms.